Today, I'm going to show you some easy ways on how you can make your house look country by making some very simple DIYs. So let's get started. All right, we are going to start here with his drop cloth. If you have been following me, you know that I love drop cloth and I have used the same drop cloth for like months now. This is one of the leftover pieces. If I were to guess, I didn't measure it because it was already this, but you can see there it's around, I would say about 16 inches wide. And I am going to make a little sack, like a little bag, country style. And I'm also going to take this smaller one because I wanted to make it just a little bit longer. So I am going to cut it the same width as the previous one. And then I'm just going to start placing them together and hot glue them together. You can also sew it if you know how to sew and if you have a sewing machine. I have a sewing machine. I'm not the most expert at sewing, but for this case, I think hot glue did the work. So I'm going to start by hot gluing the first larger drop cloth piece. Basically, I'm just going to join them together, and then this seam is going to be towards the back of the bag. Then I am going to take the smaller one and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to attach it. Now, you see how I'm just kind of doubling it up, and you see that there is that little fuzzy frayed part. I want that part to show. I'm actually like excited for it. So I am going to leave it just like it is, but I am going to hot glue it to the larger one and also to itself. And we're just going to create a large bag. And then, of course, I do want to hot glue one of the ends, and that way it'll be a bag. And then the other side, the other end will be the top of the bag. So I'm going to show you here on Cricut Design Space that it's very easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a square shape and I am going to change the size of it to be the same exact size as my bag. So I'm going to unlock the sizing lock there and then put 16" by 16" because that is just about the size of my bag. Now I have a square which is going to look like my bag. And then I'm going to look up here on the images section, a buffalo. I want this bag to have a country kind of style, so I am going to place a buffalo. So I'm just going to look through on Design Space, and I found this one, which I thought was pretty cool. And I'm going to make it white here so that you can see it with the black square. And then we are just going to delete the square, and now we have the buffalo the size that we needed. So I'm just going to click make it, and then I am going to use the Cricut Maker 3, which is awesome. You can use it with a mat as well as with smart vinyl. Cricut was nice enough to send me some smart vinyl, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to use Cricut's cutting tools here. You saw me using them earlier. These are just really cool cutting mats and cutting tools that make life much easier. Once I had the vinyl cut to the size that I needed, I am going to place it right on the Cricut, feed it to the machine, and then let the machine do its work. And I'm going to show you here in real time because let me tell you, one of the first things I noticed about this machine is how fast it is. And it's also very quiet. So here it is in the cutting, look how fast it goes. Right? I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I was pretty impressed with how quickly this machine cuts, and again, how quiet as well. So it's as easy as just letting the machine do its thing, and then once it's done cutting, then you can push this little button here and it'll slide out, and then it's time to weed it. You just basically pull it. Now if you want to use it as a decal, I would weed the excess part of the vinyl, but because I'm going to use it as a stencil, I wanted to weed the actual design. This is Cricut transfer tape. It is very sticky, so I do kind of place it on the mat there several times to loosen up some of that stickiness. Once the design is on the transfer tape, now it's time to place it on my bag. So basically I'm using the little scraper here to make sure that it's in there pretty well, and then pull off the transfer tape so that I have the vinyl there. I am going to use a makeup sponge as well as Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the charcoal tone, and I'm just going to start to stenciling it, and then I'm going to do the edges with the sponge, and then I'm going to finish it off with my chalk paint brush because that way it goes a little quicker. Once I was done, I pulled it off, and again, I'm not looking for perfection because I do want this to have a distressed look. So you're going to see that I did not stencil it to where every inch, every space was filled. So now we're going to take this, this is faux leather that I get on Amazon. I do have it on my Amazon store, which is linked down below if you want to take a look at it. And I am going to cut off, it's about 1.25 inches thick strip. And this is the length that I had. So I am just going to work with what I already had. And so I'm going to fold it in half, and then I am going to hot glue it to each side of the bag. And these are going to be the handles. Now, the reason why they're so long is because I want them to have on the sides just go as long as possible. Ideally, I would have wanted to go all the way down, but I didn't have a long enough fabric or faux leather to do that. So I'm just going to hot glue it again in place. That did the work. I'm not going to put anything in this heavy because it's just going to be decorative, and I'm just going to put some decorative faux greenery inside of it. So the hot glue was perfectly fine, but again, you can always sew it if you'd like. So I'm just going to make sure here that both ends as well as the back straps are all going to be as close to even to each other as possible. And we are just about done with this one, guys. And it's one of my favorite. Actually, I can't tell you which one is my favorite today. I am telling you, all of these are by far some of my favorite creations. But look how beautiful this bag looks. Very relaxed, very country. And I just love that it's so easy to add to any decor and just add a little bit of touch of country decor to your house. For this next DIY, I am going to take this little tin bucket I got at the Dollar General. It was $1. I'm also going to take some chalk paint from Walmart, this Dixie Belle Sea Spray, a cup, a stirring stick, and a small brush. I'm going to put some paint in this cup. Just eye it out. It doesn't matter. It's just going to paint the little tin bucket. So I did ended up having a lot left over, which I used in a later DIY. But this one did the trick. So the sea spray basically just adds texture. You can accomplish this also by using, let's see, what have I used? Not flour, cement, like, that powder that you can use for cement, or there's so many things you can use for it. Baking soda, there it is. You can use that too, but Dixie Belle sent me this a while back, so I wanted to use it. As you can see, I'm going very slowly, and I added a little bit, and now it's so thick that it's not even falling off of my stirring stick. So that's exactly the texture I was looking for. Now I'm going to start dabbing it instead of brushing it. That way it's going to keep a lot of texture on the tin bucket. And I'm going to do that all the way up, but I am going to leave it kind of messy on the top and leaving about a 1/2 inch where there's no paint. So you see how I just left a lot of it not painted. That's exactly what I wanted to look, and it just had like a messy kind of look. Using my Cricut Maker 3, I cut out the stencil that I am going to use here. It says DIY Beauty on Purpose candles, and it has that little buffalo that I used earlier. I placed it there with some transfer tape, and now I'm going to stencil it once again using a makeup sponge, but this time I'm going to use some Waverly chalk paint and the ink. It was really quick, guys. This is a small little stencil, but this one turned out pretty cute. Once I pull it, I just love it. I love how it has the name of my channel, and I just think it looks so adorable. To finish it off, I am going to start dabbing it with some Waverly Antiquing Wax and a stenciling brush. This is to give it the effect of it being rusted. I'm going to do that on the top rim as well as the bottom rim. I'm going to use the tin bucket as a candle holder. So I am going to make my own candle here, and I am using a kit that I got on Amazon. This kit is awesome. Let me tell you, it had everything that I needed, and it was very simple to use. So I'm going to take 3 of these wicks and I am going to place them on the bottom with the little sticky tabs that it brought. You could only use 1 or 2, but I thought 3 was kind of cute. And the tin bucket had a wide open mouth that I thought the 3 was perfect for it. So after I have them placed there, and I'm going to try to use these little holding thingies that it brought, but it's meant for smaller jars. So in the end, it didn't work out. So I did have to use some crafting sticks that I had, and I just made a hole in the center, and I used those as my wick holders, and I made 3 of them, and that way it held them in place. And I've seen this used before. I don't know if this is how they do it, but I just thought, hey, I have some from Dollar Tree. I'm going to poke a hole in the center, and that's how I'm going to hold the wicks. Once I had them nicely set, now it's time to add some of the scented oils. This also I got on Amazon, so if you want to check that out, I do have both the kit and the scented oils in my Amazon store. I'm going to combine 2 scents here. These are the autumn scents that they had. And now it's time to start pouring here. And I didn't have enough wax, so the kit came with about 12 ounces of wax, and I actually needed about 16 ounces of wax. But nonetheless, I think it turned out super cute. Once it hardened, I just basically cut off the excess wicks and then lit them, and we have some candles. I love the way it turned out. I'm so excited that I made my first candle. I wish it had a little bit more, fill to the top, but again, nonetheless, I think it turned out super cute. For this next DIY, I am going to use this piece of paneling that came off of an old, I believe it was like an old dresser. It was something because it has that curve on the bottom, and that's exactly how it was. But to be honest with you, I don't remember where it came from. All I know is that I kept it and it's in pretty good shape. I'm going to use the remaining little mixture of the sea spray and the paint just to kind of use it and not waste it. And then I'm going to give it 1 additional coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white, just so that it has enough coverage. But I'm not looking for perfection because once again, we are going to heavily distress it. Using my Cricut Maker 3 once again, I cut out the phrase Countryside Farm Market, and then it says fresh eggs, vegetables, and produce. This is going to be a larger kind of sign. Once I had all the stencils placed where I wanted them, I started stenciling using the charcoal tone Rust-Oleum chalk paint in my chalk paint brush, and I just stenciled away. Once again, I do want it to have a little bit of a distressed look, so I didn't look for perfection. Once I peeled off all the stencil, this was actually one of the best stenciling jobs I've ever done. There was hardly any bleed through, which I was pleasantly surprised. Probably because I'm using Cricut supplies. And I think it turned out pretty cool. So I'm just going to weed off the excess little vinyls that are there. And then it's time to start distressing. Now I want this board to have heavy distress. I started doing it with my block sander. It was taking forever. So I went on to my palm sander and that did the trick. I am going to heavily distress all the edges and then lightly distress all the words.
What's it like to be the one that he turns to when he's out of answers?
To add additional character, I am going to start to dab some of that same Waverly Antiquing wax with a chippy brush. I'm going to do that all around the edge. It's just going to look like it's been around, weathering out in the elements, and it's just going to look old. And I really like the look that it has. So I'm just going to do that all around the edges, and then I'm going to dab it just a little bit with a dry towel just to remove any excess antiquing wax. And then I'm going to also very lightly sand it again just to make it look as natural as possible. This is a pretty large sign, but it's also very thin, so I couldn't just screw in sawtooth hooks. So I had this wire one thing, little hanging thingy that came off of another one. It was kind of long, but I knotted it and then I cut the excess and then I screwed in with a small screw and I added some of that popsicle sticks just to add a little bit of thickness to the board, and it actually worked out really well. Look how stunning this looks. For a second, I contemplated evening out the bottom, but doesn't it look so custom and so unique by having that curve? I just love the way it turned out.
To be the one that he comes to when he wants to dance. And I wonder what's that like.
All right, friends, for this next DIY, I am going to take this piece of paneling. It was left over from another project. I got it at the hardware store scrap wood area, and it was just this size. It was about 22 inches long or wide, and then about 6 inches wide. I don't know which way is wide or long. Nonetheless, I am going to start applying some antiquing wax with the brush and then wiping off the excess. I did that in the front and the back. If you don't use antiquing wax for staining, you're missing out. It's so easy to stain, and it's not stinky, and it comes off really easily from your hand. So again, using my Cricut Maker 3, I cut out the stencil that says no hunting. Now I'm going to stencil it using white chalk paint, and I'm going to keep it very light. So again, I'm not looking for complete coverage for the stenciling because I am going to be distressing it. Removing the stencil again is so satisfying. And then it's time to start making some holes because I want this to have like bullet holes. Because it says no hunting, and yeah, you know what I mean. So I'm just going to randomly start drilling some holes anywhere I want, but I don't want to overdo it. I just want it to be a detail. So I grabbed the thickest drill bit that I had, and I'm just going to start drilling it on several sides of it. And then I just sanded it down just a little bit because it did splinter up. And although it looked very authentic with the splinters up, when I resell it, because I am going to sell it, I don't want it to have splinters because it can hurt somebody. So I'm just going to sand it down. And then I also sanded down the edges a little bit just to distress the whole thing and add a little bit more of a country style on it. And then I decided to take one of my flat screwdrivers here, and I'm just going to start distressing even more right around where all the holes are. This is just going to make it look a lot more authentic, and I think it turned out stunning. Oh my gosh. Again, how do you choose a favorite? These are all amazing. I really love it. And I just think this one is so cute, so clever. Let me know in the comments, though, which one is your favorite. I want to thank Cricut for sponsoring this video. As always, they are amazing and they have amazing products. So I am going to have their website linked down below in the description box. But once again, let me know in the comment which one is your favorite. Look how beautiful they all look together. Beautiful. If you're visiting for the first time, thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you consider joining our YouTube family. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. I am going to have a playlist here and a video here with tons of inspiration for you. I know you're going to love. So click on one of these links here for more inspiration. I'll see you later and have a blessed day. Bye.